Function calling is probably one of the most important features you need to know if you want to build highly functional and practical AI applications with Ollama. By incorporating function calling feature, you'll be able to build applications with capabilities to call third-party APIs, allowing you to retrieve livestock price, weather information, browse the web, or even run query against your database. To learn how to work with function calling feature, we'll be building a live weather AI agent uses OpenWeatherMap API to fetch current weather information. And let me give you a quick demo of the AI agent we'll be building. In the prompt, I'll ask, what's the weather in Chicago? In the background, the AI agent will make an API call to the OpenWeatherMap API to get the weather information and use the JSON output from the API call and return the response in a regular English sentence. And I can continue to ask the weather in different city until I type the keyword exit to terminate the program. A very basic app to get you started learning function calling. Now stepping into the tutorial. Navigate to openweathermap.org. Create an account is completely free. Navigate to my API keys and generate an API key. Create a Python file and name it app.py. To build the AI agent, I'll be using Llama 3.1 AB model. The file size is about 4.7 gigabytes. To start out, import JSON, HTTPX, and Ollama. Then create a function called getWeather with parameters, city, and API key. The getWeather function sends a GET request to the OpenWeatherMap API, processes the response, and returns a JSON string with selected weather information. You can modify the JSON response dictionary to include or exclude specific data you want to feed to the AI agent. Now we know what function we wish to use to allow the model to call. We now need to construct the function calling function to describe the getWeather function to the model. Create a function called getWeatherTool to describe the getWeather function. In the getWeatherTool function, we describe the tool type as function. In general, an LLM model has three tool types: file search, code interpreter, and function calling. Next, in the function key, insert the getWeather function detail like the function name, description, properties, which describe the parameter of the function. And if a parameter is a required field, you'll include the required key with the parameter names in a list. Keep in mind that you can have multiple functions to be used with an AI agent, not just one. In this example, we're only using the getWeather function. Once we have defined both the API function and the tool calling function, we can now construct the weather AI agent. Create a function called run, which serves as the entry point. Inside the function, define the model and initialize an Ollama client instance. This step is optional. To ensure I get a more accurate output, I'm going to initialize my message list with a system message to instruct how the agent will engage in a conversation. Then insert a while loop that will continue the conversation to run until the user type exit to terminate the program. To start the chat session, we'll use the input function to request a prompt from the user and append the prompt to the messages list. To start the conversation, send a request using the chat method with a model name, message list, and define the tools to be available to the agent. If the AI agent believes the response requires using any of the tools defined, the response object will contain the tool calls key and content will be empty. If the model decides not to use any function calling functions, the tool calls key will be missing. In that case, print a message stating the model didn't use the function with the response to explain why, and continue to the next iteration of the loop. Now, if the model decides to use any function calling functions, set out a dictionary of available functions. In this case, just the getWeather function. When set out the available functions, the key name and function name will be the same. Then iterate each function's properties. Retrieve the function from the available functions dictionary and call the API function with the argument specified by the model and the API key that will be hard-coded. In this case, we are calling the getWeather function using the function to call object. Once we get a response from the API function as a JSON object in a string format, we then append the output to the messages list and set out the row type to tool. Finally, we make a separate request call to the model and append the reply to the messages list. To test the program, insert the main block, define the API key, and execute the run program. In the prompt, I'll ask, what is the weather in Seattle? And the agents will get the weather data from OpenWeatherMap API, clean it up, and apply as a sentence. I can then type exit to terminate the session. And that's all for this how function calling works in Ollama lesson. Hopefully you guys find this video useful. If you have any questions, you can post your questions in the comments below. Happy coding, see you in the next one.